Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webcast. My name is Andy Dio, and I'm your host today. Today, we'll be talking about product design suite, integrated product development, and the future of making things. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn the presentation over to Anthony and Jorge.
Great, thank you, Andy, and good morning, everyone. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast, at least. I'm excited to be presenting this topic to you. And with me, again, my name is Anthony Rodriguez, as Andy said. With me is Jorge Fernandez, who will be working with me to walk through this presentation with all of you. As Andy mentioned, we will have a Q&A in the end. So we'll definitely be looking forward to addressing any questions that each of you have. Just a quick agenda. I wanted to make sure we spend some time with all of our customers, as it kind of was somewhat enlightening to me over the last several months. Jorge and I work with many customers. We work with several of you that are on this call, and as we worked with our customers, we are finding that as Autodesk continues to invest and build out their product line, the product innovation platform, we're realizing that not all customers are really understanding the investments Autodesk is making. They're looking at other solutions, other tools outside of Product Design Suite, and not aware that Product Design Suite has functionality that can address some of these problems they're looking for. So we wanted to make sure we give everyone a quick overview of what Product Design Suite is today. And start by not just jumping into the technology, but talking about why Autodesk is really investing in moving Product Design Suite from just a modeling tool. All of you know there are many modeling tools that exist. Modeling tools have been around for many, many years, into a complete innovation platform. And we'll describe what that actually means. Later in the presentation, Jorge will give you an overview of some of the technology that's included in the software. I'm looking at the sign-in list, and there are many of you on this call that own these products today. So I'd be looking forward to hearing from you and hearing, what features, what capabilities you learned about and are looking to implement as we move forward. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the presentation. And again, what's important for me is not to just I want to make sure we don't just jump in and show you the product, although I know that's important. That's probably what a lot of you want to see. But what I like to understand is, especially as a customer of any product, is where is a company headed? Why is Autodesk, in this case, why is Cative investing in building Inventor into more than just a modeling tool? And we're really, when you look at all of us today, and I work with many of the customers that I see on this presentation, and for the most part, as I'm working with customers, there's really three areas that all customers in manufacturing are looking to improve. You create a product, and you're either looking to increase your productivity, and there's multiple ways to increase productivity through manufacturing methods, the way you're assembling your product, the way information flows throughout your business. So, all of us have opportunity to increase productivity. That's pretty common with all customers. The other common theme is, just innovation, right? Most customers really want to come up with ways and develop their product that's unique, has features that are, with the customer in mind, customer focused, and we see that every day. I mean, whether it's a Google Glass or drones and new technology that's coming out today, things change so fast, we all know it's very difficult to remain the most innovative company in an industry. But again, it's something that a lot of our customers are striving to do. So we look at, companies increasing process. Typically, they want to increase and figure out ways to better innovate their product. And then the third is process, okay? And process can be improved through a variety of means. I mean, just looking at how information flows throughout a manufacturer. I was with a customer recently, and while the customer wanted to look at how information was managed in engineering, sometimes it makes sense to step back and say, let me take a look at how information begins in sales. How do I sell my product? And then once I sell my product, how does that information move into engineering? And then we can kind of follow the information and see if there are areas in a business that we can improve. And so sometimes, like I say, it takes just stepping out of the engineering area. But again, just to recap, productivity, innovation, process, as we talk to customers, those are common themes that all customers in manufacturing are typically looking to improve. Now, what's happening in the industry, and many of you, I'm sure, have heard, some of you have already implemented and are seeing some of these impact the development of your product. But there are many trends, many new technologies that are becoming available, and becoming available to all size manufacturers that are really changing the way we have to look at developing our product. Okay, and those trends really revolve around production, the demand, how our customers are looking at our product, what they expect from a product today, and then how those products are connected and stay alive, if you will, as we move forward. Okay, and when you talk about production as an example, I mean, I pulled up a few examples here that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. The production methods around just the way we can 3D print products. I mean, I know several of you, I'm looking at the list of attendees, are used to and incorporating some of those methods today because of the ability to rapidly produce a product, go from an idea to a real product, is making us rethink how we design a product. So if you look at this chair down below, and Jorge will probably talk about this a little bit more, because technology is changing, because we have things like cloud processing available, this chair is an example where, as an engineer, rather than focusing on modeling a product, okay, worrying about what the geometry looks like, I can now focus on the inputs of the product. What is the criteria of the product? What sort of envelope does it have to fit within? How much weight does it have to hold? What kind of material is it going to be made from? And the computer can now create the geometry for me. And if you look on the far right of the chair, you see a chair that looks like something, you know, likely no human would really kind of imagine or design or model for that matter. But the computer has found that that is the optimal design, the optimal shape to meet the requirements necessary. The user did not do the modeling, the computer did. And these are things that are changing as we look forward and at the technology. The other area is just product intelligence. All of us, I'm sure, are using products that are connected today. I have a home with Nest. We recently implemented Nest in our house, and you know, the ability for me to now control the heat and coolness in my house from anywhere really has changed the way we use that sort of equipment in our house. It's reduced the electricity bill for heating and cooling the house. And so there's, all of us have examples, I'm sure, where we're using products that aren't dead products, if you will. They're really alive. They keep up to date on trends and habits and get to know, how we work as individuals. And this is another area, again, that's forcing customers that I talk to look at how they can better create their design and differentiate their design. Our customers' demands are also changing, and again, all of us are customers of something, right? Whether we're customers of a product or food or cars or whatever the case is, and I think we can all think of examples of how our demands are actually changing for products we buy. I know when I go and buy personally products now, or with my kids and go and buy products, my kids are looking for something that is more personalized, something that is custom. They want to have something that's unique to them, and that requires a different way of designing, a different way of presenting information to our customer, and then being able to ultimately produce that product in a way that's affordable and allows customers to purchase them. And so, when you couple all of these things, you couple the customer demands, you couple the expectation of having products connected and how they interact with different devices and people, and you look at the way products are being made today and the abilities you have to 3D print, to the technology available with robotics and other manufacturing methods, it's really a good time for all of us to kind of step back and figure out where our business is headed and understand how we can use technology going forward. And so when you look at, most companies, this is a simple diagram just documenting the product development process. And when you look at the process, I mean, most of us have a process that's, similar to this. This is a simplified version, but we all start with some sort of concept. We have a design. We then need to go out and make our product, ultimately sell the product. And then, we have to be able to operate that product and maintain it, and ultimately the product gets retired. And when you look at the process that exists there, that's really kind of a traditional product life cycle. Okay. Again, all of us, this is a simplified version, but most of us, and if not all of us, have a process very similar to this. And the challenge with that is the only way to really increase the value of the product, the profits to the company that you work for, are to look at those three things we looked at in the beginning. How do I reduce costs to develop my product? How do I reduce material costs, maybe labor costs? How do I increase productivity to reduce costs so that I can increase my profit? Or on the other extreme, we have customers that are saying, how can I innovate my product to the point to where I am the leader in my business? There's nobody who can compete, therefore I can sell my product at a premium. Okay? And by selling my product at a premium, I can ultimately develop more profit from that product. Both of those are very difficult and ongoing battles, right? The minute you innovate something, someone else comes out with something better, and you have to, do it all over again. And the same thing is true with process. Once you improve your process, other companies will catch on, and eventually it's a race to continue to improve process. And there's fairly limited value you can gain from that product, because once you ship it, that product ends up, going away. You're not benefiting financially from that product going forward. Now, as you look at Autodesk Product Design Suite, and most of you on this call have some form of Inventor or Product Design Suite, or maybe even AutoCAD Electrical. I see a few of you here. As you look at Product Design Suite and how Autodesk has invested in this solution, not only do they believe they need to build out a solution that manages a traditional product lifecycle, but the solution is built to be able to benefit from some of these trends that we see coming. As an example, with customers that have demands of configurable products, right? And once I configure my product, I need the ability to rapidly produce that product on time. You'll see, and Jorge is going to show us some of these examples later on, but you'll see that Product Design Suite gives us the ability to build the foundation for a configurable design, so that not only do I create a design and reuse it, but ultimately if I can build intelligence into my design, I can give access to customers so they can maybe online, through other forms and formats, quickly configure based on menus and selections they make, configure the product of their choice, and we can then go and produce it. Product Design Suite has continued to evolve in terms of collaboration, and I see that as another differentiation. When I work with customers today, there's a lot of customers that come to us, and while they're looking to improve their internal data management and workflows within their company, it's equally important, if not more important sometimes, for them to manage a process of collaborating with their suppliers, with their contractors, with outsourced manufacturers that are not local companies anymore. They're all over the world. And they need good ways, quick ways, simple ways to be able to do this. Now, in the past, when you think of collaboration, you typically thought of collaboration as something that happened once a design idea was documented, right? Once it was modeled, maybe. Once there was a drawing. But today, we're seeing requirements for collaboration that need to happen real early in the design process. So as an example, as I'm designing a product, I might want my manufacturer watching me design the product, having input, taking control of the model, adding features on his own. And as an example, if I'm creating a plastic part, maybe giving me recommendations on draft angles and other injection points and things like that happen real time in the design. And Product Design Suite gives you the ability to do some of these things. And again, Jorge will talk about that. Another differentiator we can all take advantage of is how we produce our product. Okay? And how we produce our product happens in a variety of formats. There's a variety of manufacturing methods. Jorge was actually at a customer in Oregon recently with one of our team members. And as they were looking at the customer's process, one of their big major goals was to improve their manufacturing, improve how they made products. They wanted engineers to have earlier involvement into how parts were machined, right, to make sure they were manufacturable. Not knowing that Product Design Suite had, as part of Fusion, some CAM capabilities, they were going out and buying other CAM software like Mastercam to do the exact same thing that Product Design Suite could do with Fusion. And again, Jorge will talk about some of this. So whether it's CAM, whether it's 3D printing, or how we assemble, how products flow throughout our factory, there are solutions within in a foundation within Product Design Suite that allow us to build upon some of these new trends that are coming. Okay, and then we've talked about the customer. The customer expects more, right? The customer expects to sometimes be involved earlier in the process where collaboration will help. The customer may expect to somehow configure or like my kids want to do, personalize their product somewhat, whether it's through color, material, size, shape, and giving customers the ability to do that's important. And then sharing back with them what that product will look like in a real-life scenario is important as well. And again, those are ways Product Design Suite can help. And all of us will start to think of ways, if we're not already. There's a couple of you on the call I know I've had conversations about this with who create industrial products, and they want to create industrial products that once implemented and installed in the field, report back to them so they can start detecting issues with that product prior to the product failing. Okay, so that if they can prevent failure out in the field, that's going to be a better experience for their customer. It's going to save a lot of time, headache, money ultimately for that customer and make them a better partner. And Product Design Suite has a foundation that is going to allow us to build and get to ultimately some of these connected product scenarios as we go forward. So when you look at, we all want to improve productivity. We all want to improve process and be innovative. If you set those aside and we really look at these other 5 opportunities for us, we can really start to think of ways of differentiating our companies as we go forward. And by differentiating our companies going forward, the lifetime value of our product increases. Right? If I have a product that I can maintain in the field and is reporting information back to me, and I can be a better partner to my customers so that they prevent issues, that's going to present some opportunity for our customers. And it gives us a way of just managing the overall development of our product in new ways going forward. Now, all of us cannot do all of this overnight. And that's why the Product Design Suite solution is a scalable solution that gives us the ability to kind of, work our way towards having all of this implemented within our company. And that's really why Autodesk calls it a product innovation platform. Okay, it is a platform that allows me to scale, allows me to really identify in my company what areas I want to improve, and roll out those parts of the product that make sense to me. And when I look at Product Design Suite, there's really 4 areas that Jorge is going to cover that cover some of the differentiation we were talking about in my presentation. And again, I want to make sure that really the goal, that everyone understands the goal of this is to share with you all the capabilities you have in Ultimate, because we find a lot of customers aren't aware. They're not sure how or when to implement it. Sometimes they only look within engineering in terms of how they want to improve. But really, I think all of us owe it to ourselves, to our companies, to look at how engineering interacts with other departments, with our customers, with our vendors, and look at ways we can improve the overall process. So I'll come back to everyone in a little bit. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Jorge and let him show some of the product. Jorge?
Thanks, Anthony. So yeah, to kind of go off of what Anthony was starting to talk about here was, we kind of were brainstorming about what to make sure that everyone knew about, and want to make sure that, just like when we visited that customer a while back, want to make sure everybody here on the call is aware of everything you have available within the Product Design Suite Ultimate. So some of it you might already know, some of it you just might have heard of and not sure what it really meant. So we wanted to cover these 4 basic things, and it really starts with making sure that you have a really good decision process, making sure that you're able to make something better and much faster. And the only way we can really do that is by making sure we align ourselves and be able to see, or try to foresee, I should say, what might happen. So if we can expect something to actually fail or not. So the first part I'd like to get started with is just better, faster decision making. And then we're going to go into materials and fabrication, where we'll talk a little bit about CAM. For example, we'll talk about electromechanical design, and then how we can collaborate as well. So for the first part here, better, faster decision making, there's a slew of different solutions that you can use to be able to validate your design up front. So you don't have to wait to the end, right? Some of you might have seen some of these, like simulation CFD, for example, or mechanical, but most of all, there's some of this already available today inside of Product Design Suite Ultimate. So I wanted to take this time to go over it here and make sure everyone understood some of the things that we can do. For example, I know we have a customer that does muffler systems, for example, and I thought this was a great example to bring up to show you some of the capabilities that are inside of here, something that you might not necessarily think of all the time. So we have the ability to do FEA analysis. There's 3 different types. There's stress analysis where we do static stresses, and then there's also modal analysis. The example we're looking at here right now is a modal analysis example. I wanted to show that how easy it is to be able to begin something like this, to get started. We're in here, we can very easily create a study where we specify we want to do a model or a vibration analysis, where we can say, well, this is going to be mounted on the bottom of a car, right, or some type of vehicle, and we want to make sure it's going to withstand certain vibrations or frequencies. So we can look for those natural frequencies right inside of here, and if we know that range as well, we can give it that range and tell it to find where the specific vibrations will cause this possibly to fail. So by doing this type of work here, we're able to get a lot of upfront design, and we're able to say how these things are fixed. Is this mounted? Is it welded up to something else? I could put in these different supports, add different forces, and make sure that if there's another weight on top of this or something else that's going to also cause some type of change in this environment, we can definitely add those. We even get to the point of, hey, is this a really thin part? And we want to make sure we have good results and we account for the thickness of the surface. We have the ability to do all these things. And by the way, we also have something every Thursday at 10 a.m. called Autodesk Virtual Academy, where we went over an example like this so that you can follow along and be able to see how you can do it, and we jump into greater detail for something like this. In the end, once we've set this entire thing up, then we can take a look at its results and see what happens at certain frequencies. So at this frequency, for example, we can see that it rocks back and forth. If we just do a really quick animation, and hopefully over the lag of the internet you're able to see this quite smoothly, I'll just play this, and what it's doing is rocking back and forth here on this frequency. So the parts are still basically staying together, but we can actually see this movement, and there is a maximum displacement of just over an inch, actually. So these are the types of things we can start to look at while we're inside of the FEA analysis of Inventor, for example. Just really quickly, one other thing that's really nice about this is being able to identify what's going on at different levels of this, right? So I can see there's another vibration, for example, and you know what? Maybe I want to take a little further and I want to see inside of it. So using just regular tools right inside of Inventor Professional, which is in Product Design Suite Ultimate, I'm able to very quickly get a quick snapshot or a section view of what's going on with the insides of it. You know, so the tools are very they're available for you to be able to interrogate this completely and be able to see what kind of results you might expect with something like this. You know, this is just one example I wanted to show you. This was the vibration analysis or modal analysis, as it's called as well. But there's many others we can do also. If I go to this other quick example, we're looking now at a suspension fork for a bicycle. And think of the impact that it might need to take on in order to be able to take a closer look at this. So, you know, we are again able to go to our environments and go to our stress analysis environment and take a look at the static stresses of this. So I can very easily come up here, update some of my contacts and make sure if there was any assembly contacts, we'll have those. The way the computer breaks it down into different elements, so we can be able to see the results of this as well. So there's so much capability here. Again, this is another great example of something we did in Autodesk Virtual Academy, where we actually walked you through how you can do this on your own, and including what we call a parametric table, where you can run different thicknesses. You know, sometimes it's not about trying to use less material just for cost savings. Sometimes you just want to make it lighter. We want to try and make this bicycle as light as possible. So if you think about, you know, someone who's doing any type of design where someone has to carry this or it has to be shipped in some fashion, we're not just trying to do cost savings on material. It might even cost more to do more holes in here, but keeping it lighter will be what the customer might want, right? So in here we can see what those stresses are, what the displacements are, and we can anticipate what type of issues we might come across without having to necessarily do a prototype, a physical prototype. One other example I quickly wanted to run through is something else you can do inside of Inventor Professional is the ability to do a dynamic simulation. So looking at kinematics. If we look at this example, we're looking at a customer that does the yogurt filling cups. You know, I think we've all gone to Costco or, you know, some other store where we buy those little cups of yogurt, and how that gets filled. Well, you know, there's things going on in here, of course, as well, and we might need to look at the dynamic simulation of that and understand the kinematics. Understand that if something hits here, if this pin hits down at the bottom, what kind of stresses is that going to take? Is it going to start to perhaps fail? What kind of displacement can we expect on this? So this allows us to apply those forces and be able to see, again, anticipate what might happen if we were to run this scenario. And we can hit the play button here, and basically the entire machine, or that piece of the machine, comes down and realizes that there's a contact going on that part, and then outputs the stresses for that, so we can go back into static stress analysis. So again, it's all about making better products and making it faster, because you can do this all up front. You don't have to wait to the end. You don't have to necessarily always bring up a different simulation program just to do all of these. It gives you a great capability to be able to do this up front as well.
Yeah, and Jorge, if I can interrupt while you go to the next one here. The other advantage, and I really want to emphasize this with everyone on the call, is Jorge is really focused on these tools allowing you to create a better product, okay? Which is really the ultimate goal, to make another product, a better product, right? Test your product early in the design phase and create a better product ultimately. What I really want to emphasize and challenge everyone with is I'm an engineer myself. I started as a designer creating products, and when I started my career, it was at the time where there was, you know, a modeling department or design department and a drafting department. And we all know as we move forward, you know, design ultimately created the drawings, and there aren't many manufacturing companies with drafting departments today. From there, we saw modeling move into more of a digital prototype, right? Being able to not just create a model, but create something that I could test the weight of, I can start to look at, I can share with customers realistic images, and I could really understand how the product would behave. As we go forward, we're going to start talking about and hearing more about how setting up an accurate problem in a system will create geometry for us. Okay, so all of you that are using Inventor today and not using simulation, I highly encourage you to start using it, obviously to create a better product, but really for your own knowledge, your own ability to test and learn how to set up problems correctly so that the solve comes out correctly. Because as we go forward into this next kind of phase of design, what will be more important than being a good modeler will be to be able to be a good problem solver. Can I really accurately define the problem I'm trying to solve, and then let the computer create geometry from that for me? And if you're not yet using simulation and setting up problems there, it's just going to be more difficult and harder for you to jump to shape generation and the ability to set up a problem and have a computer define an accurate design result. So again, I encourage all of you to attend AVA. We're doing a lot of training sessions there. We do sessions at our office and custom sessions for customers all the time. So make sure you take advantage of that. Like Jorge said, all the capabilities he's showing are in Product Design Suite Ultimate. Go ahead, Jorge.
Oh, thanks, Anthony. You know, and on that same topic, I mean, you know, we're able to do a lot more than we were before. I know when I started, I was excited just to use Inventor, you know, because I was getting into 3D after AutoCAD. But now there's just so much more we can do, including, you know, 3D printing and CAM. You know, I started using CAM a long time ago, but it's really interesting to see how far it's come and how popular it's getting now, where, you know, it's not just for a machinist anymore necessarily, right? Again, it's trying to predict, trying to plan for how you're going to do this as well. So now there's tools that we can take advantage of to be able to do this, and again, all included inside your Product Design Suite Ultimate that I wanted to make sure we all completely understood we had available to us. So what do we have available to us? There's actually an acquisition that Autodesk made, which was HSM Express and Delcam. HSM Express is actually a part of your subscription. You can download 2.5 Axis CAM today. We actually have a tech tip on that, so if you have questions on that, of course, let us know. But you can actually download that, and you're able to start using it today. It's embedded inside of Inventor, so you don't even have to exit the environment. Some people have asked for 3-axis CAM. You actually have that too. The thing is, 3-axis CAM is a part of Fusion. It's a part of it. If there's no extra cost or anything like that, you have access to that today. Again, we have white papers on how to get that downloaded and installed and get to use it, but you have that today. The other part of manufacturing is 3D printing. As parts are getting more complex, or as we want to try and do less physical prototypes or faster prototypes, we can leverage 3D printing. And how we can do that today is that we have the environment inside of Inventor. So I'm not sure if you're already aware of it, but there is a tab inside of there. If I just bring it up here really quickly, I thought it'd be really good to show everybody, is that it's really easy to get to. So if I go into a part that I want to look at, for example, let's say I wanted to either do CAM or 3D printing on this. Once you bring it up, you'll notice there's a CAM tab up here where you can actually begin to set it up. It's actually a pretty easy to use tool. Again, we've discussed this in Autodesk Virtual Academy as well on the Fusion side, and it's actually very similar. This will basically allow us to go ahead and simulate this part and how it would act in CAM, where we can set it up. We can go ahead and do some adaptive milling, for example, drills and so forth, to be able to simulate this entire CAM operation and then export the code out. So it's really easy to come in here, you know, set up the adaptive clearing, for example, and maybe some facing and things of that nature to be able to see exactly what it's going to look like, verify that the CAM paths are correct, of course, and then finally be able to send this out also to do the CAM. You know, that's just one part of it if you're going to do CNC, but if you want to do 3D printing, again, that's something we also have available. Inside of our environments, we have the ability here to go to 3D print. And what this really does for you is to be able to give you, again, upfront validation of the part. Maybe you want to make sure you have the right size for it, for example. Set the orientation. You know, in this case, I can obviously see this is going to exceed the box limits if I lay it down on its side instead. But I can come and change the orientation for that, change its position, and decide exactly how I want to use it. At the same time, I can come over here and choose what I'm going to output it to, which 3D printer. I know I worked with a Autodesk Foundation company where they provide pumps to remote areas in Africa, and what they wanted to do is they were creating a new valve. And there was nothing like printing it out and seeing exactly what was going to happen. It had threads and everything, and we were able to actually have the threads interlocking and be able to verify the design. So, you know, it's one thing to see it in 3D right here, but there's nothing like being able to 3D print out and be able to get better verification of what you've got going on. At the same time, we also have something called Print Studio. So if you click on this link, it actually has you download this, and what it'll do is it'll send this to a Print Studio so you can actually slice this and see how the structure is set up for it. So again, more validation, make better informed decisions to be able to see exactly what you're going to expect. You know, especially if you're not used to doing 3D printing. You know, I've done a few projects myself, and I'm dabbling in it more, but this gives me more confidence in the parts that we're creating, and these are tools that you have available to you today. Next thing I want to talk about really quick is the digital physical convergence, and what this really means is, you know, Autodesk is really pushing, you know, everyone is pushing the envelope, right? The more automation there is, the more electronics get incorporated into the designs. You know, you might not even see it today necessarily in your product, but you might have it, you know, in the foreseeable future or something like that. So the ability to design and document electronics, for example, mechatronics and hydraulics and so forth can be very important as well. So we have that ability to do that inside of Product Design Suite Ultimate. And the way that comes is in the fashion of having AutoCAD Electrical and 3D wire harnessing built into the suite as well. So by doing this, we're able to do, let's say, an enclosure that has the actual wire harness, be able to provide wire lengths and know what our costs are going to be, as well as being able to make sure we have the right amount of real estate for the wire harnesses. So in here, for example, we're seeing this enclosure of a tractor actually, and we're able to see all the wires inside of it. But how do we get there? How do we get the actual 2D wires and everything? Well, we have AutoCAD Electrical for that. So this is AutoCAD basically with electrical tools on top of it. Now some of you might just use AutoCAD, some might use Visio, but if you have Product Design Suite Ultimate, you already have access to this. And it gives you a very quick and easy tool to be able to insert a quick ladder, for example, insert wires in here, or even come over into a catalog browser and be able to say, well, you know, I'm looking for a very specific connector or a very specific motor starter or something like that, and find it inside of here and be able to quickly just click on it and drag it into my actual schematic over here. So it's really easy to use. It gives you all the tools you need, the manufacturer information and everything, along with wire numbers so you can tag these and be able to print out wire labels even. You know, so some of you might do electronics and mechanical part of it, or you might have an electronics team that takes care of this. But now you have the tools to be able to collaborate much better, be able to figure out exactly where you are in the design, what parts are connected by looking at these symbols to know, hey, this part has not been connected to Inventor yet. I have an Inventor part and an electrical part. I just need to go ahead and make those links between them. I can even come over here and be able to say, well, I want to add more things. Maybe I want to add the actual wire length. I'm sure a lot of you didn't realize that we can actually do that now. Before in AutoCAD Electrical, if we didn't have this collaboration, there's no wire lengths. You'd be guessing. Now we can actually have it come up in the columns, so we can export this, put it out into a from-to sheet from AutoCAD Electrical. And then finally be able to sync this up so that when I go over back into Inventor, I'm able to see those things. I'm able to come in here and start, you know, accounting for the real estate we need and be able to just automatically route all my wires that have not been routed just yet, and then be able to create my nail board design. You know, I've gone out to companies where they'll have an actual board up and they'll have everything nailed up and be able to see what the wire lengths are. We can get that all right here by just using our Product Design Suite Ultimate. Again, the idea here is I just want to make sure everyone knows that they have this capability available to them. already. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was collaboration. So, Anthony was mentioning about being able to, collaborate with other people within the organization or outside of it, and how we do that today. So some of us might already be using Vault, for example, for some of that collaboration internally, or even externally. But there's some things that are available today as well. In case you haven't got notification yet, there is, for example, an R3 version of Inventor for 2016 now, which includes some of this. So, not sure how many of you have heard of Autodesk A360, and what that is a kind of like a Dropbox, if you will. It's Autodesk storage space where you can collaborate with others socially, and be able to share your designs and so forth. So, what we're seeing here now is inside of Inventor, there's the ability to say, well, I have an assembly here, and I only want to isolate to certain things that I want to show somebody and work with somebody on. So at the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little collaboration button. And what that does for us, it allows us to turn on our connected design on A360, where we can comment, go back and forth, and be able to share this information very quickly without having to export to another file type or anything like that. Instead, we can put in our comments here, generate a preview. If we stop for a second and think about how we do this now, or we've done this in the past, usually we export a file to like a DWF, or we might pack and go this and have someone download Inventor View, and then they come back to us sometimes, and maybe because of an installation issue they couldn't quite get to it. But now what we're able to do is we're able to leverage the cloud and be able to say, well, I'm just going to email a link. Well, they will access my A360 account and be able to see this design. I can go ahead and share this view now with somebody else. They get it in anything like Gmail, even for that matter, open it up in their browser, and they're able to see the design that you've been working on. They're able to zoom in and out, interact with it. They can even do exploded views of it as well, so they can see what's going on with this assembly or the insides of it as well. Comment back and forth and be able to collaborate much more easily than ever before. As a matter of fact, you can also use this on an iPad or an Android, whether it's a phone or a pad. You can come in here and see the exact same thing we just saw a little while ago on our standard web browser inside of a computer. We can do it from pads and be able to, as long as we have an internet connection, get to this information quickly, we'll be able to see it, interact, and collaborate with everybody much faster. Again, this is something that you have the capability of using today with Product Design Suite Ultimate. So with that, I'd like to pass it back to Anthony. Thank you for joining us in this part of it. I just wanted to make sure that that we are just skimming the surface here of some of the things that are available inside of the Product Design Suite Ultimate. And if you had more questions technically of some of the other things you have available to you, I'd be glad to answer those questions in the Q&A session coming up soon.
Great, thanks, Jorge. And I want everyone to realize Jorge, he asked for a lot more time. I know we've already gone over, but there's so much to show that he had to pick some of his favorite capabilities. There's a lot more on each of these topics. So if you have more questions, you want to know if something can be done that you haven't seen, definitely reach out to us. And I wanted to just wrap up quickly with kind of some of our recommendations. First off, if you're not on a suite today, the suite as we go forward is going to be the best place to be as a customer, right? You have access to the tools Jorge showed you. You get the most value for the investment that you make. And if you haven't considered that and you're still on an individual product, I highly recommend you reach out to your account manager, reach out to me or Jorge, and we'll definitely go over all of your licensing and give you a recommendation. Secondly, Jorge has brought up AVA. Okay, AVA, the KETIV Autodesk Virtual Academy, is the only place for customers like you to go learn every week, gain a skill every single week, and be part of a community of, we have almost 1,000 subscribers to KETIV AVA. If you haven't attended yet, I highly recommend it. It's a way, again, for you in 30 minutes every week, Thursday at 10 o'clock, to learn something new. And again, we do this every single week, so just add it to your calendar. You can count on us being there. Jorge presents. a variety of our other application engineers present, and the feedback has been phenomenal. Again, we're already up to almost 1,000 subscribers and expect to have a lot more than that as part of the community. This is something we just started several months ago. The third thing is really, if you're not sure, there's a lot of different things we can all do, right? There's everything we've talked about: collaboration, connecting my product, simulating my product, testing it early in the design phase. Some customers look to us to say, can you come in and just look at how I work today? Look at how I work. I want an outside perspective and really give you feedback on where we see as a business it making sense for you to invest first. What is going to give you the biggest payback? Where do you start? And then what does a long-term plan look like to gradually, step by step, move into some of these capabilities? If that's something you'd be interested in, definitely reach out to us, talk to your account manager, and we'll be happy to talk to you about doing something like that. And then lastly, the best way to start is really look at the projects you have today. If you can define a new product you're creating, a new project you're going to start, you'd like to incorporate some of the technology we've shown you today. We work with many customers on custom, project-based training. So again, definitely reach out to you. We can talk to you about not just sitting in a class and learning something out of a book, but learning how to use the tools that are interesting to you on a real project. So not only are you learning, but you're being productive and you're actually getting work done. So definitely reach out to us on those two things. And then there's a few offers that I want to make sure everybody's aware of. First off, if most of you on this call are using a perpetual license of Product Design Suite with a maintenance plan, okay? Or you're using some individual product. If you're using an individual product or Product Design Suite Premium, I highly recommend you consider moving to the Ultimate Suite. The Ultimate Suite will give you all the capability we talked about and Jorge shared with you today, and will be the best place as you move forward in your business and as we go forward with Autodesk. So there's a limited time to do that, to move from a product you might have today to Product Design Suite Ultimate, so reach out to us to discuss that. If you have additional users you want to access any of these capabilities for, there's currently a promotion to basically buy 1 year of use of a product and you get 3 years when you have a valid trade-in license. So again, reach out to us to talk about that if you have newer users or older software you want to bring forward. And then lastly, there's a finance promotion that allows you to take advantage of not just a product purchase, but any of the training or support services we've discussed. And finance those at 0%, and there's no payment on that for the first 4 months. So it's a way for you to look, forward and see, based on your plan of hiring and what capabilities your engineers need, look forward and plan accordingly and take advantage of some of this now rather than waiting until later in the year. So with that, I want to go ahead and thank everyone for coming. Definitely reach out to your account manager, call me or Jorge directly. We'd be happy to help. I appreciate everyone attending, and stay on for the Q&A. We do have some questions that have come in, and we'll be answering any questions that come up. So if you have a question, definitely submit it through the Q&A area, and Jorge and I will stay on until every question's answered. Thank you.
All right, Anthony. Yeah, there were a couple of questions that came in. Jorge, when you're talking about Fusion, can you please let everyone know how do they get access to Fusion if they have Product Design Suite today?
Yeah, if you have Product Design Suite today, what you'll want to do is the contract manager will need to go into the subscription webpage and grant access to you. If you already are a contract manager and you have an Autodesk ID, you'll be able to do that. Also, we do have a tech tip on that on our website, so if you particularly want to get that link and get the specific instructions, we can send that to you too.
Great. And the other question that we had, Jorge, is the Print Studio part of Product Design Suite Premium, or do you need Ultimate for that?
Well, that's a good question. So yeah, that is actually part of Premium. The 3D printing and the 3D Studio part of it are both part of Premium and Ultimate.
Great. The other question that came in was, where can people go and check out our past AVA sessions?
Oh, yeah, if you go to youtube.com and then you type in Kativ in the search, you'll see that there's a playlist for AVA. So all of our sessions we've had so far have all been recorded, and there's even some highlight videos on some of the sessions too. So in there you'll find there's a Fusion Cam one, for example, and there's also a analysis one that we just did about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, where we did the vibration analysis as well, and there's many more also.
And I think on those videos, there's a lot more details on some of the stuff that you went over today, correct?
That's right. Yeah, right now it was more of an overview, but if you look at that video, it'll actually give you a lot more detail, and it's almost a how-to really on how to do that.
Excellent. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have today. Thanks for staying on. I know we ran a little bit over, but like Anthony said, this information is very important, and we want to make sure that all of our customers are aware of what's going on. Anything from you, Anthony or Jorge, before we leave?
No, again, I just want to encourage everyone to start thinking about what, from what we showed today, what capabilities you'd like to incorporate. We're here to help, so reach out to me, Jorge, or your account manager, or other engineers you might work with on a regular basis. And, let's work together to build a better product and be better companies. So we look forward to it. Thank you for attending.